Now, face the mighty bison.
He is arguing with people once again on Twitter, but not just anyone. Bro is arguing with the Arslan Ash. A lot of players feel that Brayn is really powerful, one of the strongest in the game. And Nee has been basically downplaying. People are just seeing Nee attack all of these different characters, but then he downplays his own. And he is getting pushback for it, right? We talked about this the other day where Nee said the strongest characters currently for competitive Tekken 8, this is talking about tournaments, is Asuka, Raven, Alyssa, and Panda. Now, he did step in and say there was a slight mistranslation, and he would basically replace Alyssa for Claudio, but then he also clarified that this is, in fact, for tournaments, and ranked has pretty much nothing to do with this, which is why when you talk about Nee asking people what their rank is and it's saying like, oh, okay, red rank, have a good day, because there really is a difference in terms of what characters are doing what. The donkey kick is -13. No one punishes it. They treat it as if it's like a +5 on block move and Yoshi gets a mix up. But then if I use that against Fighting GM, you guys saw what he did to me, right? All throughout the comment section of his tweet and my tweet, people were just talking about, guess he forgot about Brayn. Bruh, he forgot about Brayn. Downplay so real, Brayn downplayer, right? So you can just see, like, if you just generally scroll through this, you can see so many people talking about Brayn downplay. And he responded to all of this criticism. There seems to be a lot of hate towards Brayn lately. From the mentions I've received, many considered him the strongest character in Tekken 8. However, he has never won a single event in 2024 TWT. It's even rare to see him in top 8. In the TWT finals, aside from Lohai, there were no other notable Brayn players. One could say the same thing for Yoshimitsu. 2024, Yoshimitsu didn't win any tournaments. In fact, he only won 6 tournaments. And there was other characters who won far more than 6. But does that mean that Yoshimitsu wasn't powerful? People probably would disagree, right? Now he says, I do agree that Brayn is strong, but since season 2, his main moves have been nerfed, making him even harder to play, and this is true for other nerfed characters as well. If he was truly overpowered, we would have seen many more pro players switching him, but in reality, very few have chosen to main Brayn. In ranked matches, many characters can feel strong. Everyone has different opinions on which characters feel powerful, and I respect that. But on X, it often feels like certain characters are unfairly targeted. I agree. I'm a Yoshi main, bro. Where was D when I was getting harassed? Because see, here's the thing. I never try to say that like I'm the best. I never do that. I'm not the best. I don't want to be the best. I'm just here to have a good time. But when Yoshimitsu was considered the best, people would go out of their way to find a fight. Oh, Moonsault Slayer, you scrub, you're carried. And I'm like, bro, what? Like, okay, yeah, I'm carried. Yeah, you're carried and you suck and I hate you and I unsubscribe. It's like, whoa. It's like all I did was just like Yoshimitsu for 15 years, my guy. And I don't even think it's an X thing. I don't even think it's a Twitter thing. I just think Tekken players do this. You could talk about Brayn right now. You could talk about Yoshimitsu back then. You could talk about the female characters in general. I think that the female characters are way more scrutinized than the male characters. Everyone thinks of Asuka as a worthless, useless character, and then they also talk about her story. But what people don't do is talk about Dragunov's story. His story started at the same time as Lily and Asuka, and he has done nothing since. But no one says anything about him, Fang, Raven, none of them. And I do think the players do a lot of that, right? And I do as well. I target Victor, Paul Phoenix, King because of the throws. It's just how players are. We like certain characters, we dislike other characters. But I try to be aware of that and understand that. But when you have this hive mind get together, it's like, it's chaos, right? And also it's unjustified. How do you target the player for what the developers have done? Unless the player asks for that change, asks for that buff, or they're asking for a buff, I feel like you targeted them is kind of messed up. A character's strengths shouldn't be determined by their placements in tournaments. Alyssa, Xiaoyu haven't won anything either, and we don't say they are weak. Nee says, then what do they base it on, if not tournaments? Tournament stats are more straightforward and viable data. As I was reading that, I was thinking about the character usage data and how we talk about which characters are popular and unpopular, and how I always base it on the data. And people look at the data and they see a character like Lei being at the bottom, and they say, hey, the data doesn't make up everything. But I'm like, bro, the data is the best thing that we have. Like, what other evidence do we have to literally stack each character neck and neck. And now I often do polls on the channel to see which characters people want, but then people will still say like, that poll sucks, it's not a true representation. You know, they're basically ignoring the facts because they want to believe what they believe and they want to live in the fairy tale. You know, when you're trying to determine which characters are the strongest at pro level, tournaments is the best to do that. When you're trying to determine which characters is the strongest in ranked, stats is the best way to do that. Even though Knee is getting hate, and you know, it's kind of like a meme of him arguing with all of these people, I do like that he is doing this because it is a attempt to spread knowledge and an attempt to mend the gap between pro and casual, because some of these guys probably suck, some of these guys are probably really great, better than me, better than you, right? And the fact that Nee is trying to go out of his way and literally explain to people why he feels this way, it's amazing. And I don't think we should see it as, you know, a crash out or something of that sort. It's just a conversation. Arslan responds to this and says, respectfully, Brayn is top 5. He launches you, takes you to the wall, and now you're stuck in a taunt mix-up. He has installs, busted combos, wall combos, guard breaks, and nearly every button leads to a counter hit combo. Best install move in the game. Other characters are strong, but Brayn Fury is right up there. This is for every character. Every character takes you to the wall and do some kind of mix-up. It's just some characters having guard break mix-up, and then some characters having a blockable mix-up, and then some characters just have a mix-up where you have to make a really hard guess. So Nee says, but if he were really that strong, I think either you or a Tiff would have picked him. But in Pakistan, the only one I've really seen use him is Bilal. But Arslan responds to Nee, I don't think that's a solid point. I didn't play Dragunov, Yoshi, and Jin in season 1 either, but they were still busted. I picked based on my playstyle and how strong they are. So Dragunov, Yoshi, and Jin, and also Nina were the top 5. And really, you could pick any one of those characters and do work. And what I was saying is, why would you pick a Yoshimitsu? Why would you pick a Yoshimitsu who is just has way more moves than Jin and Dragunov and Nina, if those characters are all equally as powerful? So you might as well pick whichever one you're most comfortable with. Nee says, honestly, I'm not bothered if Nina gets nerfed. I'll just, oh, this is a quote. Nee pulled up a quote from Arslan Ash. Honestly, I'm not bothered if Nina gets nerfed. I'll just switch to another strong character and keep winning. In fact, I loved if they nerfed Nina. It'd be a great excuse to main someone else. I just play to win. Nee said, because you said that, I thought if a character was really strong, you pick Brayn. But you choose Lars and you gave him a try. I think that was a pick that fits the current meta. I played Dragunov Season 1, and yeah, he was top 5, but still tough to use. I also practiced Nina, Jin, Yoshi, but they were difficult too. That's right, even if a character is strong, if their style doesn't suit you, it's hard to get the most out of them. That's exactly why so-called top 5 characters need to suit your playstyle and be properly practiced in order to bring out the full potential. But look at how it is now. People just call Brayn OP or top 5 without even trying him themselves. That's the point I'm trying to make. You don't have to play a character to be able to look at their kit and realize they're overtuned. Okay, I do agree with that though. I'm not going to say Asuka's the best in the game. I'm not going to say Asuka's top 5. I'm just going to say Asuka seems really strong and she is doing things that probably should not be possible. And when I go up against her, it is not fun to play against her. And Yoshimitsu was this way in season 1, right? No disrespect to the Asuka mains, you know. I like the character Asuka for 2 reasons. Other than that, them boys still at it. Atif says, Anna really a top 5 character? Arslan says, Brayn is top 5, not Anna. Those who have buffed characters, they don't speak of nerfs. Whenever I see a post, players are trying to nerf other characters, bro, them boys still at it.